Namaste everyone. In today's video, we're going to focus on Muni Patanjali's Yoga Sutra 3.28. Now in this particular sutra, Muni Patanjali is helping us to understand how exactly we can do Sanyam on the Dhruva or the North Star, and how through doing Sanyam on this, we can actually gain information about the distance and how far certain planetary bodies are. So let's take a good look at the sutra, start breaking it up word by word and understanding it in even more detail. So the sutra itself goes, Dhruve tad Gati jnanam. Alright, so now that we know how the sutra sounds, let's get into each of the words and start breaking them up even further. So first word, as we can see here, is Dhruva, which refers to the North Star and the polar star, as we often call it. So this is also a very common Indian name actually, where people have the name Dhruv or Dhruva, and it indicates the North Star. Now coming to the next word, we have Tat or Tad, which refers to Dhair. So we're going to understand which Dhair, but this is Dhair basically with Tat. And then coming to the next word, there is Gati. So Gati refers to movement. And finally with the next one, we have Jnanam, which refers to Gyan or Jyan, which is knowledge. So essentially what the sutra is saying, that by doing Sanyam or concentrating upon this North Star or the polar star, we can understand the movement and the tendency to, orbit or move with respect to the distance and speed of certain planetary bodies and constellations in space. So this is what the sutra itself is telling us. But now let's go even deeper and start understanding how this could be possible. Alright. So the first thing that is really important in understanding this sutra is, why has the North Star particularly been chosen? So it's very interesting to know this, because the North Star is kind of like a standard reference point because it's so stable. It is said that it moves less than 2 centimeters in 1,000 years, which indicates that its movement is barely noticeable in over 1,000 years, and that it has very little tendency to move. So this is an important quality that the Dhruva or the North Star has, which makes it something that is quite steady, quite reliable, and that can be used as a standard reference point. So even when we're talking about a person, and the reason a person may be given the name Dhruv is to indicate steadiness, calmness, stability, and the tendency to remain in one place. So it's considered to be a very positive word, a very positive quality or tendency to have. And so what Muni Patanjali is saying is, by focusing on this element, or really focusing on the Dhruva or the North Star, what now tends to happen is that we actually can use that as a standard reference point to better understand the distance, movement, speed of other stars and planetary bodies. Think of it this way. We know about standard deviation, and we know that with standard deviation, to understand how something deviates from the norm, the most important thing is to know the norm, to know what your standard is, to know how much something deviates from it. And this is something very similar along the same lines of, once we have Dhruva taken as the standard reference point, using Dhruva, we can now make a judgment call about the movement and the Gati of certain other planetary bodies and stars. And therefore, Dhruva is chosen as a reliable source of steadiness, stability, and something that we can do Sanyam on. Now, once again, just like the previous 2 sutras, I know this can be quite hard to even imagine. The previous 2 sutras were about the sun, the moon, and now we've come to the North Star. And some of you may be thinking, how is any of this even possible, right? It sounds very, very imaginary, fantastical to people like us who don't know the technology or the inner working of such processes. But all I can say is that these sutras were written a very long time ago, and so the best we can do is just understand it deeply for what it is, for what the sutra is communicating, and just hang on a little bit about the how, because that is more of an experiential answer that each of us will receive as we go forward on the path of Sanyam, of Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi. But for now, it is enough to understand that the North Star is chosen as a steady point to understand the movement of the other planetary bodies. And this is incredible, something that we really need to keep in mind. And I'm sure it must have been very useful for, olden day astrologers and people that were studying planetary movements. They perhaps used this to their advantage, because we know that telescopes and other such inventions came much later, but books on astrology existed many centuries before that. And so there is clear indication that there may have been some other technology or some other means through which the knowledge of these stars and these heavenly bodies was being recorded and written down. And so maybe we don't know that mechanism or that process, but it's there. It's there in a lot of the Vedic Shastras, and the Shastra of astrology itself is based on all of this information. And especially Vedic astrology and reading charts is entirely based on the movement, planetary systems, and the houses. So that's all we can say, that this is probably something we don't understand to its fullest capacity. So we can be a little humble, study it as a sutra, and then carry on with our yoga practice. So I hope you found this video helpful and useful. If you have, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Drop your comments in the comment section below, and also don't forget to share this video with your friends and family who may be studying the Yoga Sutras and yoga philosophy. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because we release new videos every single week. We can't wait to now see you in the next one. Until then, take care, keep practicing, and we're going to see you very soon. Namaste.